Hello everyone, and welcome to my third lesson on Romeo and Juliet, and we're going to be looking at Act 1, Scene 2. Now, in this scene, we're going to be looking at how Capulet and Paris have their conversation and why they have it, and how we can kind of talk about that and analyse it. So the starter activity is, why do you think Capulet would be talking about his 13-year-old daughter's marriage without her being there? Okay, so that's your starter activity. Pause the video to do that. Okay, then. So the sorts of things that we need to be considering then are the times in which this play was written. Then, so in the 16th century, um, people were expected to do what their parents say. They were expected to almost be in control of what their parents say, particularly their father. And young girls, being as they were at the time, uneducated and not allowed to go out to work. Their main expectation of them from their parents was that they should do what they're told and they should marry whoever they tell them to. So let's look at Act 1, Scene 2. You're welcome to read it yourself. You can pause the video, but I will be reading it now. Okay? So this is Paris and Capulet. Paris is a helper for the prince, okay? And Lord Capulet is the head of his household. Juliet is his daughter. On the right hand side there, I've got a couple of words that you might not know the definition of. Okay? I'm going to start now. But now, my lord, what say you to my suit? But saying over what I've said before, my child is yet a stranger in the world. She hath not seen the change of 14 years. Let 2 more summers wither in their pride, ere we make her think her ripe to be a bride. Younger than she, our happy mother's maid. And too soon marred are those so early made. The earth has swallowed all my hopes but she. She is the hopeful lady of my earth. But woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart. My will to her consent is but a part. And she agree, within her scope of choice, lies my consent and fair according voice. This night I hold an old accustomed feast, whereto I have invited many a guest, such as I love, and you, among the store, one more most welcome makes my number more. Okay, so that scene then is Paris asking Capulet about whether or not he is considered allowing him to marry his daughter. Now, it doesn't specify how old Paris is, but the likelihood is that he's an adult, so he could be 18 or older, even up to the age of what, 30, 35, whatever. And Juliet, it's widely believed that she was either 12 or 13 when this play takes place. Okay, now Capulet does most of the speaking here, and he talks about how he feels about the concept of Juliet getting married. Okay, so let's go through what Capulet says in his response. Then, my child is yet a stranger in the world. She hath not seen the change of 14 years, so she's not even 14 yet. Okay, the likelihood is that he's referring to puberty and like just general maturity that she just doesn't have yet. Let 2 more summers wither in their pride. Wait a couple of years. Here, before we make her think her ripe to be a bride, this idea of being ripe, being ready to be a bride. Okay, Paris comes back and says, well, there's lots of young women that tend to get married, and Capulet suggests that girls like this who do get married really early are marred, are spoiled because of that. There's something wrong with them because perhaps they weren't ready for marriage and it ends up spoiling them as a person. The earth hath swallowed all my hopes but she. He doesn't really say what this means, but the likelihood is he's referring to perhaps other children that maybe have moved on without marriage, or perhaps they've died. But the earth has swallowed them up, so all of his other hopes are gone, and she's the only one left. Okay, so he needs to get it right. But woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart. Woo her means to flirt with her, to encourage her to to get in love with him. And what he's trying to say there is that yes, Paris, it's great that I'm giving you my permission, but you need to get her permission also, which is actually quite unheard of at the time. That sort of thing didn't happen. My will to her consent is but a part. So he's saying that she needs to give her permission before he gives his. Okay, so you are welcome to pause this, have another read over, particularly with these new words that are on the right hand side. Okay, let me know in the comments if you're not sure any of the lines. Alright, so next then, let's have a look at this concept of a dowry. Now, a dowry, in lots of cultures, and particularly Shakespeare, is where it's given to the family of a bride when she marries. Sometimes it's the other way around, but usually it's the suitor, the proposed husband, is the person giving this gift. It can either be to the bride, but it's often given to the family. It's money or a gift. So this is the sort of thing that you would expect to happen in Shakespeare's time, and like I say, in some 21st century cultures as well. Um, so Paris would be expected to give something to Capulet, which is almost like an incentive for him to get married, for them to get married. So another task then. So what I want you to write down is the answer to this question: why might the father of a girl be encouraged to get her married? Why? Why get her married? What might be the benefits? Okay, pause the video to do this because we're going to go through the answers on the next page. Why might a father be encouraged to get his daughter married? Pause. Okay, these are the sorts of things then. So, you have over here money, obviously, the joining together of businesses. Okay, when two businesses join together, then they have like a fruitful relationship where they can share money, share resources, etc. Obviously, you've also got the dowry. You've got this sort of idea of security, particularly with Capulets and Montagues, where they're fighting consistently. Um, what they need is that security to have backup. And because Paris has a close relationship with the prince, perhaps what Capulet is thinking is that he might get special treatment, perhaps from Cap Paris. This idea of power, then as well. So with the fist, it's representing power, the power that can be gained um, by people coming together and joining their families together, which is exactly what marriage does. So although Capulet is hesitant, he's thinking about it. At the same time, he can kind of see these benefits, these monetary benefits, these physical security like benefits, and also actual power that he might have in society and to build his status up. Okay, now the next task then. Paris is a helper to the prince. Why might this be good for Capulet? So I want you to write down the answer to this question on paper, please, or wherever you're writing it. Okay, pause the video to answer it. Okay, so the answer to this question, then it might be that Paris being a helper to the prince encourages Capulet to kind of get power in a different way. So it's not just the marriage; is that he might have sway in the wider power structure of the society. Okay, now I've focused in on a particular part here, and I've underlined a few key phrases. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to reread them, reread this section, and I'd like you to answer the tasks. Okay, all right. So number one, what is Capulet's metaphor for his daughter using a piece of fruit? So look at the underlined parts and see where you can find the answer to that question. What are Capulet's reasons for not wanting Juliet to be married? What does Capulet tell Paris he must do to Juliet? And number four, is Capulet being a good or bad father in this scene, and why? So, in what ways does this scene create an image of a positive father or a negative father for Juliet and the audience? Okay, so pause the video, answer those. It should take you about 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes to get that done. So pause the video. Okay, then, so let's go through these answers then. What is Capulet's metaphor for his daughter? He calls her ripe, doesn't he? So her being ripe, a ripe piece of fruit, shows how he views Juliet. This idea of her being something to be consumed, to be eaten, to be devoured almost by society and by men, like Paris who wish to marry her, and the idea of being ready. So although he's being hesitant, he's also got this kind of there's something kind of sickly language about what he's saying. So Capulet's reasons for not wanting to be married: she's too young, she doesn't understand the world, she's not very mature yet, and he doesn't want to spoil it. Based on this phrase here about the earth have swallowed all my hopes, but she. So what does tell Paris he must do to Juliet? He must woo her. He must flirt with her, encourage her to fall in love with him. And number four, is Capulet being a good or bad father in this scene, and why? Now, in 21st century standards, I would argue is still something to be judged here with the idea of asking an adult to marry your 12 or 13-year-old daughter. However, at the time, this would be considered, isn't Capulet a good father? He's really thinking about his daughter's hopes and dreams and happiness. Okay, so Capulet at the time would be considered a good father, but were much more judgmental about, rightfully as well, were much more judgmental about men kind of courting their daughters, allowing them to go off and marry these strangers they've never met before. Okay, so I'm hoping if you didn't get those answers down, that you do now. So answer those questions thoroughly. Okay. Next then. All right. So your task then, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use Puzzle, okay, the point, evidence, zoom, explore link, in order to answer this task. Okay. How does Shakespeare present Lord Capulet in Act One, Scene Two? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it is he a good role model, a bad role model? Would the audience find him compassionate, caring, or would they find him callous and cruel? And some of the key phrases I wanted to try and use are marriage, consent, and so giving permission, and fatherhood. So I wanted to analyse, okay, this scene, answering this question, try to discuss at least 3 quotations, okay? So from this, okay, try to choose 3 quotations that tell you something about how Lord Capulet is being presented by Shakespeare, okay? Positively, negatively, okay, etc. Remember, the zoom is zooming in on a language feature. There's quite a few in there. And also, the explore is the effect on the audience, not just Shakespeare's audience, but our audience as well. And why do we have that similar or different reaction to them? Okay, so 3 puzzles is what I'm expecting. I expect you to spend at least 20 minutes doing this activity. Okay. All right, that's everything. Okay, I'm happy to see any work that you guys produce. Thank you. See you in the next one, guys.